Today, I've got a great story for you, and it comes from the surprisingly competitive world of duplicate bridge. It's a tale of high stakes, crunchy biscotti, and, well, how one tiny, unverified assumption can just blow everything up. Yeah, that's like using a croissant to hammer a nail. I mean, what a great line, right? We're going to unpack exactly what happened to prompt that. It's the perfect way to describe a moment where someone had the right tool, but used it for a totally, completely wrong job. And the results were, let's just say, hilariously tense. Okay, so picture this. The Bridge and Biscotti Club. The espresso is flowing, it's strong, but you know what's even stronger? The competition. Seriously, this is not your grandma's casual card game. This is a full-on battle of wits, of strategy, and maybe most importantly, of partnership. So let's meet the players, shall we? On one side, Team 1, you've got partnerships like Bartek and Marjorie. And on the other, Team 2, we've got Robert and Tom, and you can't forget the formidable duo of George and Aunt Mildred. And trust me, the way these partners talk to each other or don't talk to each other, that's the key to this whole story. Now here's where it gets really interesting. They're using something called the open-closed room system. What that means is both teams in separate rooms are playing with the exact same hands. The cards are identical. And this is huge because it takes luck completely out of the picture. It's all about skill and interpretation. Who can play the same hand better? All right, so the stage is set. We have identical cards. And that brings us to the central mystery here. How on earth could the same exact hand lead to two wildly different results? Well, it all kicks off with just one single card. So we're in room A. Marjorie, from Team 1, leads with the 5 of spades. Seems pretty simple, right? Just a 5 of spades. But in a game like Bridge, every single card is sending a message. It's telling a story. And the real game is figuring out if you're reading that story correctly. And over on the other side, our guy Tom, he thinks he's got it. He sees that 5 of spades and his brain just goes click. He's thinking, aha, the rule of 11. It's a classic Bridge move. He's feeling good. He's got a whole strategy planned out. And well, he has no idea how wrong he is about to be. And really, this is the whole thing, isn't it? Tom has built his entire game plan on this one assumption, just this one little idea about what that 5 of spades means. So what happens when the very foundation of your plan is just wrong? Okay, before we watch the car crash happen, let's hit pause for a second. We need to understand the logic Tom thought he was using. It all comes down to two defensive rules that are at the absolute heart of this whole mess. You see, that opening lead is the very first clue you get about what your partner is holding. And if you can understand the message it's sending, you can completely transform your defense. It's the difference between a hopeful guess and a calculated winning plan. Okay, first up, let's talk about the classic, the one most of us learned pretty early on, the rule of 11. This is your absolute go-to tool if you and your partner are playing the most common style of opening leads. Now, here's the deal. The rule of 11 only works if you have an agreement that your partner leads their 4th highest card from a suit. The formula itself is just beautiful in its simplicity. You just take the number 11, subtract the value of the card your partner played, and bam! The answer tells you exactly how many cards higher than that one are held by everyone else at the table. That's you, the dummy, and the declarer. Let's make this real, okay? Picture this. The contract is decided, and your partner on your left leads the 6 of spades. This is your first clue. So how do we decipher it with the rule of 11? We just walk through the steps. Step 1, the card is a 6. Got it. Step 2, we apply the formula. 11 minus 6, that equals 5. And step 3 is understanding what that 5 actually means. It means there are exactly 5 spades higher than a 6 spread out across the other 3 hands. So 5. That's our magic number. Now think about what you can do with that information. As soon as the dummy's hand comes down, you count the high spades you see there, you add them to the ones in your own hand, and whatever is left over, well, you now have a pretty darn good idea what the declarer is holding in spades. It's like you're a detective at the card table. But why does this work? I know, it feels a little bit like a magic trick, right? But like any good trick, it's all based on some very simple, very clever logic. So let's pull back the curtain and see how it's done. I know what you're thinking, because it's the question everyone asks. Why 11? The number just seems so random, doesn't it? But it's not a coincidence at all. It's actually a brilliant little piece of mathematical shorthand. All right, let's forget the rule for just a second and just count. How many cards in a suit are actually higher than a 7? Well, you've got the 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. That's 7 cards in total. Just keep that number, 7, in your head for a moment. Now let's go back to our core assumption. Your partner led their 4th best card. By definition, what that means is they must be holding exactly 3 cards in that suit that are higher than the one they played. That's the signal they're sending you. And here is where it all clicks into place. If there are 7 higher cards in the deck, and we know for a fact our partner is holding 3 of them, well, simple subtraction tells us there have to be 4 of them left for everyone else. 7 minus 3 equals 4. That's the real calculation that's happening under the hood. So that shortcut, 11 minus 7, it just gets you to the exact same answer, 4. It's not magic, it's just a much faster way to do the math without having to count up all the cards every single time. It's a calculation hack designed for card detectives. But, what if your partnership uses a different system? A lot of modern players do. Well, that's where our second key comes into play. The rule of 10. The logic is exactly the same, it's just tweaked for a different style of lead. The rule of 10 is for partnerships that agree to lead their 3rd or 5th best card. Now look closely, notice the formula changed. It's now 10 minus the card led. That one little digit makes all the difference because it correctly adjusts the math for this other leading convention. Let's see it in action, right? New hand. This time, you and your partner play 5th best leads, and they kick things off with the 7 of hearts. Time to apply our new rule. It's that same simple process. The lead's a 7. You use the rule of 10 this time, so that's 10 minus 7, which gives you 3. And what does that 3 tell you? It tells you there are precisely 3 hearts higher than a 7 out there between your hand, the dummies, and the declarers. And there it is, our key number is 3. And again, just like before, as soon as you see the dummy, you can do that quick mental math. You see what you have, you see what the dummy has, and suddenly you can make a powerful, educated deduction about declarers' hearts. It's not a guess anymore. Okay, so now we have 2 rules. They look almost identical, right? The big question you're probably asking is how in the world do you know which one to use? Well, let's put them side by side. It makes it crystal clear. You can see right here, their purpose is exactly the same. Both rules are just tools to count the higher cards that your partner doesn't have. The only thing that's different is your partnership agreement. If you play 4th best leads, you use the rule of 11. If you play 3rd or 5th best leads, you use the rule of 10. That's it. It's that simple. And just to complete the set, if you play 3rd best leads, you use the rule of 12. You see the pattern now, right? It's so consistent. 3rd best is the rule of 12. 4th best is the rule of 11. 5th best is the rule of 10. It's all just beautifully consistent. But what if I told you that these aren't really 3 separate rules at all? That they're actually just 3 different outputs of a single elegant master formula? This is the secret that ties the entire toolkit together. So let's just stop thinking about them as the rule of 10, 11, and 12. Instead, let's think of it as one unified theory of card detection. It's one formula, just wearing a few different disguises. Let's see how this thing is built. It's actually really simple. First, the total number of cards higher than the one led, we'll call it L, is always just 14 minus L, okay? Then, if your partner leads their nth best card, we know they have n minus 1 higher cards. So, to find the cards elsewhere, you just subtract the second part from the first. And when you simplify that bit of algebra, you end up with this beautiful, simple master formula. 15 minus n, all minus L, where n is just your lead style, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. This single formula is the source code for all 3 rules we've talked about. And this table right here proves it. You just plug your lead style, n, into that master formula. If n is 4, because you play 4th best leads, well, 15 minus 4 is 11. There's your rule of 11. If n is 5, 15 minus 5 is 10. You get the rule of 10. It all flows from one simple, unified concept. So the next time you're at the table and you see that opening lead, you're not just a player anymore. You're a detective. You are armed with a powerful formula. The card your partner plays is no longer just a card. It's a clue. So let's get down to it. Why bother with all this? What's the real practical impact on your game? Well, this is where all this theory turns into actual tricks won at the table. When it comes down to it, using these rules helps you accurately read the layout of a suit from the very first trick. It helps you avoid those really painful defensive errors where you play the wrong card because you misjudged who had what. It builds this silent, amazing communication and trust with your partner, but most importantly, it just completely elevates your game from guesswork to deduction. Just remember that last point because it's crucial. None of this works without a clear agreement with your partner beforehand. So as we start to wrap this up, what is the one big idea you should take away from all this? Really, it's about a fundamental shift in how you think about playing defense. And that quote just says it all, doesn't it? Whether you're using the rule of 10 or the rule of 11, you're doing the exact same thing. You are taking that opening lead, what can sometimes feel like just an act of faith, and you're turning it into a pure act of logic. And in a game like bridge, logic is what brings home the wins. But, as powerful as this is, the rule of 10 isn't a solo act. It only works as part of a system of communication with your partner. It is all about teamwork. See, this rule is actually part of a whole family of rules. There's a rule of 11 for fourth best leads and a rule of 12 for third best leads. Which one you use depends completely on your partnership's agreed upon lead conventions. Without that agreement, all this math is just meaningless. And honestly, this is the real takeaway here. The conversation you have with your partner before you even sit down to play is what makes these tools work. On defense, consistency is absolutely everything. The rule of 10 doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It works hand in hand with other signals to build a complete defensive picture. You've got attitude signals telling your partner if you like the suit, count signals showing your length, and suit preference that can point to a safe switch. They all feed into each other. Okay, so like any tool in your toolkit, it's really important to understand both what the rule of 10 does well and, just as importantly, where its limits are. This will help you avoid some really common mistakes. Well, the advantages are pretty clear, right? It swaps guesswork for math, it helps you visualize the declarer's hand, and it's actually simple to calculate right there at the table. And maybe most importantly, it creates a standardized language for you and your partner. But, and this is a big but, you have to be careful. Its effectiveness depends entirely on your partner actually leading the fifth best card as you agreed. If they don't, your calculation will be flat out wrong. And remember, it's a powerful guideline for sure, but it should always be considered within the overall context of the hand. So the big question is, how do you take this concept from, just watching this and turn it into a real advantage at the card table? And this is the whole shebang right here. The math is only a little different. You subtract from 10 instead of 11, but the assumption behind it is totally different. Rule of 11 assumes a fourth best lead. Rule of 10 assumes a fifth best. Tom thought it was the first one, but Marjorie's team was playing by the second. Okay, so now that we know the two different sets of rules, let's jump back in. It's time to see how this one tiny difference in assumption leads to an absolute disaster in one room and, well, a thing of beauty in the other. So we're back in room A. Tom, feeling smart, goes ahead with his plan based on his faulty math. He completely misreads where the cards are. He slams down his ace of spades thinking, this is a sure thing. And then, out of nowhere, Bartek trumps it. He just takes the trick. You could hear a pin drop. Tom's brilliant plan just completely fell apart. And the price for that mistake? A big, fat -50 on the score sheet. I mean, in this kind of game, that's more than just a loss. That is a totally self-inflicted wound. Okay, now let's jump over to room B. Same cards, remember. But here, the players on defense are using the standard rule of 11, exactly what Tom thought was happening in his room. Here, everybody's on the same page. They have a shared understanding of what's going on. And because everyone's speaking the same language, Aunt Mildred just sails through it. It's a masterclass. She figures out exactly where the danger is, she sidesteps the exact same trap that Tom fell right into, and she just calmly secures her contract. No fuss, no drama, just perfect, clean play.
Subscribe our channel for more videos.
And her reward for that beautiful execution? A massive plus 420 points. Just think about that for a second. You go from -50 in one room to plus 420 in the other on the exact same cards. That's a huge swing, and it all came down to that one single difference in interpretation. So, the game's over. The dust is settled. Everyone gets together for what they call the post-mortem, over some coffee and biscotti. And this is where the real lesson comes out. And it turns out it was never really about the cards at all. Here's the thing that changes everything. Bartek and Marjorie using the rule of 10, that wasn't some secret trick. They had to announce it. It's part of the rules. It was a disclosed agreement. Tom, he just missed it. Or maybe wasn't paying attention. He just assumed they were playing the standard way and never bothered to check. And it's George, the club veteran, who just nails it with this line. He says, the cards were identical. The interpretation wasn't. I mean, that's it, isn't it? Everybody had the same facts, the same cards on the table. The huge gap between winning and losing was all in the interpretation. This little story from the Bridge and Biscotti Club, it's about so much more than cards. Making assumptions without checking them first is dangerous, no matter what you're doing. In business, in a relationship, even in science, you have to make sure everyone is playing by the same rules. That shared understanding, that's the foundation for everything. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. We've all had our Tom moment, right? Where we've just charged ahead, so sure we were right, based on something we just assumed. When was the last time an assumption you didn't even know you were making led you to a place you totally didn't expect to be?